What's up, guys? I want to make a video to talk about the new residential wholesaler license legislation that was just passed in Philadelphia. So in November of 2020, the city council passed some legislation that is an attempt to crack down on like We Buy Houses scams. Whether or not it does a good job at that is kind of like up for debate, and we'll see. The purpose of this video is just kind of to dive into the bill. I have the bill in front of me and I'm going to go over it. But the purpose of this video is not to debate like how well it's going to work. It's just kind of to talk about exactly what's in the bill and the way that it's worded kind of in layman's terms, because I'm seeing in different groups like people are all over the board with what they think they can do or they can't do in terms of this licensing. What's jumping out at me right away is people are absolutely convinced that you can't hold a real estate license like to sell properties as an agent, and also hold a residential property wholesaler license. But nowhere in the bill does it say you can't do both. You absolutely can. Okay, so hopefully clear the air on that one. So I'm going to pull up the actual bill and just kind of just go through it so everybody can be on the same page, and hopefully we can shed wholesaling in like a better light, because I'm only speaking from my own experience, but in 11 years of business, I've never been in any type of lawsuit. I've never had any sellers upset with their proceeds, at least not from my offer. Maybe the way that it trickled out with liens and stuff like that, people have been upset. But I mean, hundreds and hundreds of deals. I have had overwhelming amounts of happy sellers. That is absolutely the truth. Now, of course, that's not the case, but I truly believe that there's this misconception that there's people out there spitballing these low offers and people are accepting them. But I can tell you, you're welcome to join me. I made a post that I invite Alan Dom to spend a week with me in my acquisition side. And I think very quickly you'll find that this is a tough business and nobody's giving anything away. Okay, so with that said, let's go through the bill here briefly. So this is the City of Philadelphia Bill number 200544. It says an ordinance. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll make a link so you guys can read this yourself. I'm just going to highlight the points. So the first couple things here are just talking about the unlawful housing practices. Nothing, of course, changes with that. Everybody knows about fair housing laws and all those kinds of things. So I'm going to go down to where basically the definitions and where we can find out what you can do, what you can't do, what you have to do to get licensed, all those kinds of things. So a couple items here that people are confusing. So you'll see it says that it shall be unlawful housing and real property practice for any individual or entity, including but not limited to real estate broker, agent, employee, or the representative of any such broker or agent, to solicit any real property. It's a long thing that can be very confusing, but all that says is that you can't solicit people who don't want to be solicited. And the bill will outline how they plan to do that, which is they're going to make a do not solicit list, and people can opt into that list. And as a residential property wholesaler, you cannot solicit those people. You would be subject to a fine if you did that. So a lot of this verbiage here is setting up this do not solicit list. The commission's going to, it goes on to say the commission's going to set that list up. The city has 30 days to get you on that list if you do not want to be solicited for any home buying kinds of things. So next is the definitions. This is where it's the most important. What are they saying? What is a residential property wholesaler? So this is what the bill says. Any person or entity who is in the business of purchasing or soliciting for purchase residential properties, not to use as their residence. So if you just put up one bandit sign or send out one piece of mail, you're going to need to be licensed, because all you have to do is solicit. You don't even need to have done a deal. You just need to solicit for a deal. A residential property shall include any, shall not include. Now, this is really important. This is people that are kind of acting in the capacity of what they're calling a wholesaler. These are folks that do not need to be licensed. Okay, so shall include any city or other public official or employee who acts as a residential property wholesaler in the course of their official duties. In other words, let's say you work for the sheriff's sale, you work for the city, L&I, whatever it is, where you're kind of buying and selling, or like helping or conveying the sale of real estate. You don't need to be licensed, of course. Any person or entity who is in the business of purchasing residential properties and substantially improving those properties for the purpose of resale. So, of course, that's like a rehabber. So if you're going to buy a house and you substantially fix it up, it's kind of vague, but I would assume that means a fairly decent rehab, probably a full cosmetic rehab and up I'm just, obviously you have to talk to an attorney, but to me, that would mean purchasing a house and doing at least a full cosmetic rehab. I would imagine it's vague. Again, there's no particular information, but I would have to think that, like, if you bought a property and you just cleaned it out, you're still a wholesaler. Again, very important. Double closing does not make you not a residential property wholesaler. So I've seen people say, well, what if I double close? Doesn't matter. You still have to get licensed. If you buy a house and sell it the next day, anything, all of that, you're still a residential property wholesaler. They don't get into particulars about assignments or anything like that. This has nothing to do with assignments. This has to do with the quick buy and sell of real estate for profit of houses you don't live in that you're not fixing up. Okay, that's really, really important. Okay, so a license will be required. Okay, let me back up. So attorneys that are acting, of course, attorneys act on behalf of family buying and selling. They don't need to be licensed, and real estate licensees do not need to be licensed because they're already licensed by the state in the other capacity. Okay, a license will be required. A license will be provided by the agency. So this is all going to be set up by the city. Basically, here's what, now this is important. This is what you're going to need to get your license. Okay. So you're going to have to pay $200. So it's a $200 non-refundable application fee. Next is proof that the applicant possesses insurance in such type and amount as the administrative agency requires. Now that's important. A lot of people, I know when I was new, I didn't, go out and buy business insurance. I do have business insurance now, and it's not expensive, but you need to have insurance. So just like liability, if anybody gets hurt, if anything, gets screwed up in a lot of different ways, you need to have an insurance policy. So like I have a business insurance policy. I think it's like $59 a month or something like that. I just have State Farm, and you just tell them that you want, just general business liability insurance. Again, none of this is legal advice or anything like that. Talk to your own legal people or whatever, but I tend to have a good grasp on these kinds of things. Okay, you need the name and address of the applicant. If the applicant is not a natural person, blah, 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 you need to say your LLC name. So they're also trying to weed out the people that are just super shady. Like, it seems like a lot of this bill is trying to find out who's doing this, what they're doing, and who they are. That's always seemed, whenever I see wholesaling in the news, it seems like the undertone is it's this shady business with forwarded phone numbers. And I mean, just for my business, that's not true at all. You call directly to our office. Our office info is everywhere to be found. People talk to me and my staff all the time, and we tell you who we are. But I do understand that some people do stuff like that. So number 4, you also need to name any corporations, including all limited liability corporations in which the applicant has an equity interest. So you need to basically name any LLCs that you're a part of, right? Another important one, an applicant may only be issued a residential property wholesaler license if, after a criminal history record search the applicant has performed, it's been determined that the applicant has not, within the past 6 years, been convicted of any crime of fraud, dishonesty, breach of trust, or has been convicted for violating the public official and employee ethics law, which I truly think that's great. I actually like it. I have no problem with this set of rules, and I think it will help weed out some really shady people that just don't even want to tell you who they are. And we know that there's people like that, and those people could get nailed if the sellers get messed up and they decide to come after wholesalers like that. So just to wrap that, I don't want to make this video too long, but just to wrap it up, an applicant, residential wholesaler, shall notify the administrative agency if any changes. So you got to let them know if things change. You may not, if you're a residential property wholesaler, you may not knowingly make any these are all things you can't do. You can't knowingly make any substantial misrepresentations, false promises, untruthfully advertise, blah, 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 blah. So you have to be honest with your sellers. B, knowingly give false or misleading information when completing a residential wholesaler property license application. So you fill out your license and you lie on it, you can get messed up here. Next is a significant history of violation of the prohibited conduct listed in this section, where you'll be revoked. So essentially what it's saying is if you mess up any of these issues that we just talked about, your license will be revoked. Next, there is a disclosure you're going to have to offer up to the seller. So again, this is a little bit, I don't think it's the best way of doing this, but it's something. So the disclosure says that a residential property wholesaler must provide the homeowner with a disclosure at least 3 days before presenting an offer to purchase homeowner's residential property. And I'm going to go through the following, but my plan is much like when you meet with a seller, you're going to bring them the consumer notice, right? Like when you go to a listing appointment. So same thing with this. As soon as you meet people, say, hey, cash home buyer, blah, blah, give them the spiel and just say, it's my responsibility to make sure you guys know that there's other options out there, some of which you may get a better offer, right? I'm very upfront with all this stuff already. But if you're not, you better work it into your sales process if you want to do this legally. So the things that you got to be careful of, you got to, one, inform the homeowners on how to access resources that assess the fair market value. So they can, of course, look on the BRT and things like that. Or they can go to a private, this is vague, it says any private real estate assessment tool identified by the agency, the city. So the city is probably going to offer up, things like appraisals or agencies that can help sellers determine what their house is worth. Okay, again, I think that's great. Inform the homeowner of the seller's ability to hire an agent, right, or an attorney. So, of course, you have to tell them that they could, of course, get a real estate agent or attorney. The residential property wholesaler must require the homeowner to sign this disclosure. So, as you're meeting with a seller and you're talking, if you're meeting in person, you can say, hey, this is some new legislation. I want to make sure that I'm by the book and doing all the right things. So as a cash home buyer, it's my responsibility to be above board and show you that I operate ethically. And this is the disclosure that the city has made for that, right? So you could do that. Okay, so of course, if you violate any parts of this, you could be subject to fines, and I'm sure there'll be more and more in terms of that. So basically, that's it. I'll put a link so everybody can get a copy of this. I plan to get it. I plan to be one of the first people to get licensed. I operate ethically and always have, and I take a lot of pride in my wholesaling business. This is not meant to be like a wholesaling plug thing, but for the first time, actually this year, I am working on coming out with a course, and we have an entire part of 5 parts dedicated to ethics. So I think it's time that responsible wholesalers who have been around for a while and can actually have a record of being successful and helping people start making a stand. I'm kind of sick of seeing agents and other people say how shady this business. I have sellers cry in tears, hysterically crying about how much I've done for them, how many people's lives that I've changed. And, we're not out there trying to get, make 50 grand at the flip, screwing over a little old lady. It doesn't work like that. At least it doesn't for my business. And I can prove that. And I'm prepared to prove that. And that's why I've been around since 2011 and have done almost 300 wholesale deals. Right. So anyway, the point is, I just wanted to go over this and clear the air. There's a lot of different opinions and stuff like that, but this is actually how it was written, and it should become law, be about 90 days from November 20th, whenever that is. So anyway, wish you guys the best and have a good holiday, and reach out to me if there's anything else I can do. I think I mentioned where I was going with that is that I'm coming out with a course, right? I'm joining the herd, but frankly, I don't know anybody that's been doing it for as long as I have, and operating in a healthy manner and helping people, right? So that's what I do. I put people first, and it shows in my business. So anyway, I am going to be coming out with a course. It's going to be called the Full-Time Wholesaler, and I've been doing this full time since 2014. And so that'll be coming out soon. So you can reach out to me if you want. It's going to have an online course, and we're going to have some mentorship and stuff like that coming out. So it's going to be really cool. We're excited about it. And yeah, so anyway, happy holidays. I'll talk soon. See you guys. One thing that I forgot to mention, I want to make sure I get in here, is that if you don't have this wholesaler property licensing, then a seller has the right to back out of your contract anytime up and until settlement. So you definitely don't want sellers backing out of your contract. You spend all that time and energy and money on marketing and getting in front of them. So, if they come to find out that maybe they're just not too hot on the deal for whatever reason and they want to back out, they absolutely can. And they're provided with a lot of resources on here with free legal advice, because there's this big push to make sure that people are being treated ethically. So let's make sure we're all above board and doing this stuff the right way, and that we make sure we play by the rules. So good luck.